Hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I am Susan, your hostess, and we are going to attempt to make sauerkraut from scratch. This is going to be a fermented sauerkraut that will be canned in a hot water bath. You do not want to use a pressure canner after you have gone through all the process of fermenting your cabbage because it kills all that good bacteria. But the hot water bath will not kill it. So just so you know, I am using the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. The recipe can be found on pages 344 and 345. You can see I've written all kinds of notes here at the bottom. I also went online to nchfp.uga.edu and got the recipe there. It gave me more information, so I wanted to try to glean as much information as I could. I will be using 25 pounds of cabbage and between 3/4 cup of canning salt or pickling salt. I'm actually going to be using a kosher salt to 1 cup. So somewhere between 3/4 cup to 1 cup of salt. This will yield 9 quarts according to the EDU, the nchfp.uga.edu, according to them. 1 small head of cabbage should make 1 quart of sauerkraut. Just so you have that visual in your head. Now I have 4 heads of cabbage and they weigh 25 pounds and 2 ounces. So what am I doing on this video today? I am going to shred the cabbage and then I'm going to salt it. I'm going to work it and pound it until it starts releasing its juices. Then I'm going to get it into a pickling crock, get it weighted down, and get it covered so it can do its thing over the next 2 to 6 weeks. So between 2 and 6 weeks you're going to see another video from me. It'll be part 2 of me actually canning the sauerkraut, hopefully. So before we get into the video, making sauerkraut is called a lacto-fermentation. It is a process of culturing the lactic acid producing bacteria. It makes it less prone for spoilage. It creates natural probiotics, good for you, good for your gut, and it's high in vitamin C. So the reason that we ferment it in a covered situation where it's enclosed is we want to keep the air out while it's fermenting. This is called anaerobic, which means tight, no air circulation inside the container. So there will be no air circulating inside the container. The salt ratio will be 2% to 2.25% weight of salt compared to the weight of cabbage. And if you put too much salt, it slows down your fermentation, so you want to be careful with your salt. You want to taste this periodically until it reaches that sour taste, then you know it's ready for it to be moved on to the next stage. Fermented sauerkraut can be stored in the refrigerator. It will stay fresh in the refrigerator anywhere from 4 to 6 months after opening, but because it is a fermentation, you want to make sure that you're not allowing a lot of air in contact with that product while you're eating it. So fermented kraut can spoil if exposed to air over a long period of time. So go in there, grab your kraut, cover it back up, put it back in the refrigerator. Keeps that new bacteria from forming, and it could be bad bacteria, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so my first step is actually going to be shredding this and then getting it salted, getting it broke down, and then getting it to release the liquids. This process, because it's such a large amount, can take up between 4 to 6 hours from start to finish, so you want to prepare your day for that. Don't be like me and have somebody call you and say, please come pick up your vehicle in the middle of your process. Just so y'all know that that did happen to me. The next the next step to this is going to be getting it into my crock and making sure there is at least 1 to 2 inches of liquid above my kraut. One last thing before we get into the kitchen is temperatures for fermentation. The best temperatures is between 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Fermentation would be 3 to 4 weeks. At 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, it may take 5 to 6 weeks. At temperatures lower than 60 degrees Fahrenheit, kraut may not ferment. So we want to watch our temperatures on this. And I will be using a raw pack method when I do part 2 of this. So y'all be aware that I'm not doing the hot pack method. I think the raw pack method is going to preserve those probiotics a lot better. What I'm going to do is weigh my cabbage. And I'm going to write down the weight of each cabbage. So I've got to carefully set this on here. This one is exactly 5 pounds. It's the smallest of the 3. And I have written down all my weights on a sheet already. So I'll tell you about that in a moment. Then my second head is 6 pounds, 10 ounces. The third head is 6 pounds and 12 ounces. And the last head is 6 pounds and 12 ounces. So let me get all these back into my sink. We were not going to need that scale anymore. So I've taken all my measurements, or my weights, and I had 34 ounces over here in this column. So there's 34 ounces there. So a pound is 16 ounces. So I could get 2 pounds out of that. So I brought my 2 over, and I put my 2 ounces down here. Now I'm going to reweigh the cores when I take them out. So I may have to do a little adjustment on my salt, but I shouldn't have too much of an adjustment. So I ended up with 25 pounds and 2 ounces. So that's the total that I have on this, and y'all can see my mathematics there. Now this is a chemistry lesson for me. I am not a chemist, but most kitchen cooks are chemists without even knowing it. So we're going to get started with this. Let me clean up this area, get this scale out of the way. And you're not supposed to use a metal bowl, but everybody I've seen uses a metal bowl. So I've hand sliced this first head of cabbage, and I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of salt. I will not add any more salt during this process on this particular head of cabbage. It is 3 tablespoons of salt, and then I'm going to massage it in. You're going to see me massaging it in and working this cabbage really good. I will periodically stop, cover it, and allow it to sit for 15 minutes, then come back and do it again at least 4 times. You will notice that I am crunching it up and I'm breaking some of the leaves as I'm working this. You want to crush and break those leaves to release those enzymes in that cabbage. Now, some people may say use 4 to 5 teaspoons of salt per cabbage head. It just depends on the person and how much that cabbage weighs as to how they came up with that number. You will see me using a dinner plate, and I'm pressing down to try to weigh that cabbage down a little bit before I cover it up and allow it to rest. Now I've worked through all of my heads of cabbage, and I'm on the last batch here, and you see me turning it and flipping and really squeezing and trying to release all those liquids out of here and break it up, because I don't have a lot of room left in this jar and I really want to get it all into one container. So here I am working this. Now it's time to get this cabbage into my jar, and you will see me pressing it down with my hand, and you will also see me pressing it down with a potato masher, which is what I used, and to try to get it all in there and to try to continue to release those juices. I did have to make a brine. I will use a little bit of brine that I made on top of the stove. You bring your water to a boil with a certain amount of salt and allow it to cool before you add it into your crock. Well, y'all, we have a crock full of sauerkraut started. Now, I did mix up some brine. I'm allowing it to cool. I want it at least an inch above the sauerkraut line, which I think it is now. I'm going to press down just so you can kind of see. Yeah, we've got about an inch there of liquid, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more, because I don't mind it being just a little bit over that. I have pulled out some glass weights. These are for pickling, and I ordered these off of Amazon. I don't remember the name of the company, but I did order them off Amazon. I am going to follow what most of the people do. They take some of the bigger leaves and they lay it on top of that kraut to kind of help hold it in place. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put my weights in there. Go ahead and put one more leaf in there. It's not going to hurt. And I can tell it's a good inch or more in there. So I'm going to go ahead and stack some of these weights in there. As many as will fit. And it looks like it's going to be 3. But I can go ahead and put another one on top of that. So I've got them all in there. I've got a piece of plastic wrap. I'm going to put that over the top. That'll kind of help seal in that air, seal that air out of this. I'm going to get a towel and put over this. It's going to sit for 2 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on the temperatures in our house. I will check it every day or every few days. You'll be seeing me check it throughout this process, and then when it's time to can this, we're going to come back and we're going to make a video on how to can this. So it took me a good while. I started at 8 o'clock this morning. It is now 2:30 in the afternoon, but I had to run an errand today, and my errand was to go get our truck. Now these are clean bath towels. I am going to throw 1 or 2 of these over. I think 1 will be plenty. I'll go ahead and throw the second one over for good measure. Just to make sure we don't have any draft or anything on that. And I'm going to get, this is my smallest lid that I have to a pot. I'm just going to set that on top. That'll just kind of give it a little bit more stability. And we're done. Well, y'all, we did it. We got our start on homemade sauerkraut that is fermented. This is the first step. You will see the second step when we go to can this, but every day or a couple of days I need to go in here and make sure that there's no scum on top. Scoop the scum off if there is. Wash those weights, put them back in there, and cover it back up. And I will do this throughout the process. I have written down the date that I started this, and I'm planning on checking this every 2 weeks until we have the right flavor of sauerkraut to my taste. And then once we do, we'll get it canned up. You'll see that video in a separate video. So thank you, friends, for coming along. This has been a long day for me, and I am tired. Needless to say, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did accomplish it. Don't be afraid to try something that you've never done before in the kitchen. If you don't want to can this, once you get it to the stage of your preference and taste, then you can jar it up, make sure they're sealed, put them in the refrigerator, and use them up. You don't have to do a huge batch like this. You can do it by the pound. All you have to do is research it. So I thank you all for watching, and may you be fully blessed.